Lawrence Jones is editor-in-chief of Campus Reform and Democratic strategist Michael Starr Hopkins, contributor for The Hill. Thank you so much for joining us. These students are not just kids, they are survivors who look to be becoming activists out of something they experienced firsthand. They have the passion, the agony of watching their friends and others die in front of them, and now rage, pushing them to call for a change in our gun laws. How feasible is this, their demands? And Lawrence, let's begin with you.
Well, you know, I'm heartbroken for what happened to those kids. I'm also very intrigued that these students are getting involved in the political process because they do have a right to have a voice. But I'm worried that this is getting ready to turn into the typical political debate. And I know that's not their intentions, but this is becoming the same thing about pro-gun, anti-gun. And although I get their desperation, in reality, Republicans and Democrats, they don't know what to do. No one knows what to do. And I feel like this is taking another political stance.
Michael, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think they're actually going to get something done, that these kids could actually push Congress to move?
I think they will be, and first I just want to start and say God bless these kids, because they've managed to take something that's a horrible tragedy and turn it into a real teachable moment. And what they're doing is saying that there's a lobby for gun owners, but there's no lobby for kids that are victims of these horrible crimes. And we've gotten to a point now where you can't go to school, you can't go to church, you can't go to a concert, you can't go to basic places without being worried about whether you're going to be shot. You know, I went to the movies this weekend and saw Black Panther, and the first thing I did when I got in that theater was check to see where the nearest exit was. Right. That's not the American way. And so I think that we, whether you're Republican or Democrat, we can have a conversation about how we can make sure that people who have mental issues aren't getting their hands on high-powered weapons.
Now, before we get to the next... go ahead.
Yeah, but there's such an emphasis on the tools of these mass killers, but there's not a conversation about the killers themselves and all the evidence that we miss with these people. I mean, this is not the first killer that the FBI has missed crucial evidence that could have prevented this from happening. And I think that should be the focus right now. I get it. There's going to be a debate about guns against and people that want gun control. But we have to take the things that we can actually affect right now. I don't see gun control happening anytime soon.
I have a common sense suggestion.
We can follow on our leads that when we know people are troubled, and they have literally said they plan on killing people.
Right. Michael, he brings up a good point here, don't you think? Absolutely. That so much was missed. Every possible thing that could fall through any possible crack went down that crack when it came down to this shooting. Is this really about changing legislation?
Absolutely. I think one of the first things we can do is allow the CDC to look into the correlation between gun crimes and mental health. For over 20 years, the CDC has been restricted from funding any type of research that would do that. You know, there used to be a time where we didn't have school shootings at such a rampant rate. And now, since Columbine, over the last 20 years, a regular occurrence, and there has to be a reason, and it's not just the guns. I agree. There's a societal issue going on, and we need to address that. And I think that, you know, if we allow the CDC to research, we can do that.
Okay, well, you know, picking up on that, Lawrence, if you just give me 1 second here, you know, Columbine was the very first school shooting I ever covered. I'm from Colorado.
Absolutely.
And I want to bring up this point that Rush Limbaugh made on Fox News Sunday with Chris Wallace this weekend about the country running to change laws. Listen.
The next shooter is out there. The next shooter probably has the gun that he's going to use. The next shooter is known by many people in his community who are concerned that this guy may do what everybody's afraid he's going to do. Now, how is anything that we're talking about going to stop that? We have got to realize this is what our country has become. We can wish that it weren't this way, and we can wish that Congress could legislate it away, but they can't.
Michael, back to you again. His point is it's the people, the system. Do you see his point there?
I hear his point, but I think he's wrong. You know, after 9/11, when I was a kid, you used to be able to walk to the gate at the airport. And then after 9/11, you had security checkpoints. Then after Richard Reed, you had to take your shoes off before you went to the airport. We can have gun rights while also acknowledging that these kids have a right to live, to go to graduations, to get married and have kids. We can have a balance between those rights and making sure that, you know, everyone gets the chance to live an American dream.
Lawrence, do you have a word on this?
I think Rush Yeah, I think Rush is completely right. If you take the guns away, they'll find knives, bombs, cars. I have made the decision, me and my family, is how can we protect ourselves when these crazy people decide to go in your movie theater. In Texas, I can carry my gun in the movie theater. When I go to college, I can carry my gun college campus. But what can we do as Americans to protect ourselves from these killers? Because guess what? It's not going to stop. If you take something away from them, they'll find something else because they are cold-blooded killers. How can we stop them?
Living in fear isn't living. And so if we have to take guns to school, if we have to take guns to movie theaters,
that's the reality, though, Michael. That's the reality.
That may be our reality now, but we need to figure out a way to do better because that's not how we should be living.
Well, one point to both of you, these students will eventually be registered voters, and they are calling on fellow teens across the nation to take action. They are watching, perhaps closer than ever before, to what members of Congress are doing. Lawrence, do Republicans need to be careful here?
Look, I think the messaging needs to be careful. I think all sides need to be careful. But I think it's important, though, that we just don't do something just to be doing something. We have to be intentional. And I don't want to take the rights of legal gun owners away just because we are in this emotional state right now. Everybody's feeling the pain of these kids. Gun owners, the NRA, everyone is feeling this pain.
The NRA is
but we
not
got to be
feeling
responsible. They are feeling that pain, Michael. And I think it's insulting to say that the NRA is not feeling
insulted,
the pain. There are people, there are NRA members that kids were affected as well, too. That feel the pain of this country as well.
There are NRA members who
What do you mean it's different?
The NRA is a corporation who has millions of dollars being funneled through it. I don't feel bad for the NRA at all. I think we need to get money out of politics completely. Now, the people who are members of the NRA, I have friends and family that are members of the NRA, and I think that they do feel bad about this. But I think the NRA is a separate group which we need to look at and consider how they're funded.
They advocate for their members, Michael, and it's this type of rhetoric that you're spewing right now on national TV. It's why we won't get change when it comes to this issue. It's because immediately Democrats attack the NRA
gentlemen,
instead of the killer.
Thank you very much. We will continue this, no doubt. Thank you, Lawrence.